Hi everybody, this is Beth Boysen from Boysenberry Soaps, and today I'm going to show you the easiest and best way to line a wooden mold. I actually make and sell these wooden molds myself, and this is how I line all my molds, and it works perfectly every single time, and there's no leakage in the corners or oil seeping through to the other side. Most of the time it's not, I mean, of course it's not 100% foolproof, but it's a really good method to use. So what you're going to need, your materials, is going to be your wooden mold, freezer paper. This is the Reynolds brand. It's really wide. It can do this extra wide mold. It can do the smaller mold size. You're going to need packing tape and scissors. Now the reason why I use freezer paper instead of parchment paper is because parchment paper has a little bit of a harder time taking the packing tape and actually sticking to the packing tape, and also it leaves a texture on your soap when it's finished, and I personally don't like that texture. I normally plane it off, but an easier way to avoid that and having to avoid planing and wasting that little bitty bit of soap is to use freezer paper. So we're going to want to use the shiny side towards the soap. So the first thing you need to do is measure out how much you need. So you need at least enough paper to touch on both sides of the table, right here. So this is a good amount because I have enough paper to go through both sides. So I'm just gonna tear this off. Okay, I don't need the box anymore. I'm gonna set it to the side. Now, the next thing you're going to want to do is kind of center it where you want it to be. Put your hand down to hold down the paper to keep it from moving. You absolutely need to make sure it's moving. You're going to take your thumbnail and you're going to want to go just a little bit inside, not too much, not too little. If you have too little, then this is going to not fit. And if you have too much, then there's going to be a gap in between your paper and your wood. So I just kind of stick it down. My fingernails are pretty short. They're just really short. So I just stick it down as far as my fingernails stick into the mold. Okay, so now we can set the wood and mold aside. And what we have here is, I don't know how hard it is for you guys to see, but you can see an indentation in the paper all the way around. So what we are going to do is we are going to fold on those lines. If you fold too far outside of the lines or to the side of one of the lines, it's not going to work. So you want to fold on the indentions that you made. So what you need to do is pull the paper up, get it lined up. If you see two indentions, you're going to want to go to the one that's on the inside. Okay, so once you get it lined up like that, and it's lined up, then we're going to start pressing down on the paper to make a nice strong crease. And we're going to do that on all four sides. So we're going to go on the skinny part next. There's the indentation and crease. Turn it around, indentation, and crease. All right, so the next step is going to be the trickiest part. So I'm going to show you how to do it 4 times to make sure that you guys get this. So you have your creases in your paper, the really strong creases, you have 4 of them. What we are going to do is reverse fold from here to where the bottom of the square mold is to the top. So this crease it's creased this way. We want it to be folded backwards. Now, I used to do a lot of origami as a kid, so I picked up on this really fast. However, it just takes a little bit of practice. Don't get frustrated if you can't do it right on the first try. So all I did was bend that fold backwards, and we're only reversing the fold until you get to this corner where the 4 pieces meet. Okay? Next thing you're going to do is take that reverse fold, pull it forward until you get to the corner right here. So this is really important. You see the corner where the 4 corners meet? you're just going to basically match this fold, this reverse fold, in with the fold that you have here. So this is basically this is how we're going to make a 90-degree angle on our soap. So we have these two sides are matched up. I have this piece of paper completely flat. It's all matched up right here. And so now what we're going to do is go behind the paper right here. And we are going to pull our finger out like this so that that crease, we have a new crease. And this is going to be a 45-degree angle. Go all the way from one side to the other. Okay? Now I'm going to let go of it so you can see what it looks like. See? We have our 90-degree angle right here, and then we have a perfect triangle right here in the middle. So that's a right triangle right there. So, and there's our 45-degree angle. Okay? Now you need to repeat this 3 more times on the other 3 sides. So I'm going to show you again. We are going to reverse fold this step right here. So I'm basically just taking that fold, making sure I fold exactly on the exact same line that's already there. I'm just folding it the other way. Okay? And then I like to kind of push that down. It kind of pops that edge out. Now we're going to match this crease with this crease. So you just want to fold it over like that. Sorry, the paper gets pulled a little bit inside. So just make sure that those creases are lined up perfectly on the same line. And then you go behind and you push the paper out. Okay? So I'm going to do the next one a little bit faster. Okay? So reverse fold. Once you get practiced at this and you do it quite a few number of times, it's actually, you find it a lot more convenient than silicone molds. I know a lot of people are like against wasting paper and things like that. You can reuse this paper as long as you remove it carefully from the soap when you're removing it from the mold. You can reuse the same paper several times. Now I do not recommend you use the same piece of paper with a different fragrance, because the fragrance may soak into the paper a little bit and make the paper a little bit smelly to smell like that fragrance. And then if you use a new fragrance, then that old fragrance is going to be stuck into the new fragrance a little bit on the edges of the soap. So I don't know if that would cause a problem in the long term. Probably not, but I wouldn't risk it personally. So I just did the reverse fold again. Pull that corner forward, line it up, push it out. There we go. Now we have all 4 corners folded like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to fold it and fold it. Now, these overlap, so it's a little bit difficult to hold it like this, okay? And so this is where you're going to need to make the first cut. If you have a mold that is thin enough so that this completely overlaps, you have to cut this. And this can make it a little bit harder for you to hold the paper in place. And if you find that you have a problem with that, you can put a little piece of tape right here as you're cutting it, just to make it a little bit easier on you guys. So I'm going to show you what it looks like if you put a little piece of tape. So I'm just going to use a tiny piece, and I'm going to stick it right here. And what that does is it holds it in place for you guys, just like that. So you can see the shape of the box is starting to take place, right? I prefer not to put tape there just so that I can have a little bit more adjustability on mine. So I'm going to just cut it. Now we're going to drop it into the mold. So you want to line it up so that it is, you want to make sure that all 4 corners are being dropped in at almost the exact same time. This makes it easier to line it up. So the next step I do is I take my fingers and I make 2 V shapes. And I put my fingers into the corners and I push the paper down. You push the paper down at the same speed in all 4 corners so that it goes down evenly. Okay? Once you get to this step, I like to pull and tug it a little, make sure it's in the correct place. Now, all you have to do is take your scissors and cut on that. This is the reverse fold that we did earlier. Just cut straight down. Cut straight down here. Okay, now we have, dun 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 dun, it's starting to look right. So, I like to put my fingers in right here and kind of stretch it a little bit just to make sure that the inside is as squared off as possible. Sometimes, especially if your folds are a little bit weak, you can get like a moon kind of shape on the bottom. It does not hurt the soap at all. It's just not as tight, you know, as some people would like it. If you find that you have a little bit extra paper there and you don't want it, you can trim that off. Now you take a little piece of tape, tape the paper down to the mold. Okay, now we're going to do the other side. So we're going to cut down exactly like we did. You stop when you get to the wood. Okay, cut straight down. Nice, nice. Okay, pull this down. Put your hand in there and kind of make sure that the corner is as squared off as you can get it. Okay, once you have that paper in place, hold it down with your fingers. Cut off extra if you want a little bit extra removed. And then tape it down. Now, this next part is up to personal preference. I find that this is a little bit too much paper on this side here, especially if I'm not using a wider mold. So I like to trim down the sides as well. If your mold is wider, the mold I'm using right now is 3.5 inches wide. If you're using a wider mold, you won't have to trim. But what I do is I get a big piece of tape right here, tape it down, do the same thing on the other side. Yep. If you're having problems with these sides sticking a little bit, and also the smoothness of the wood can affect this as well, but definitely one way to get this really tacked down good is to take a piece of tape and put it on the corner and connect the sides. So the tape sticks to itself really well. And so now this is not coming up. Okay, but you can just use as much tape as you feel like you need. I'm going to tape the corner across here. And then we just do the same thing on the other side. So I'm just checking that, make sure the inside is really creased. And then I'm going to trim this. Now, once you get a good amount of practice on this, it won't take this long. And I slowed it down for you guys, but it should only be a few minutes on this. And then you are completely done. Add as much tape as you feel like you need. And you know, after you do it a couple of times, you might find out you don't need that much tape, or you might need more tape. It's totally up to you guys. I would recommend keeping your tape nearby when you are pouring the soap, just in case you need some more. But wooden molds are super easy to make. I'm going to put a link to my video where I show you guys how to make the wooden mold on this. And this is the exact wooden mold that I use for all my soaps. And you guys can do this too. And it's so easy, and it's a great way to save money, because the buying wooden molds from the big vendors, it's just a little bit too much money. So anyways, here you guys go. I have a nice creased inside. The way that we fold the corners leaves enough room in case there's leakage through the corner. There's backup paper behind there that keeps it from getting out. And the backup paper lines all the way up to the top. So it works on thinner molds. This is 3.5 inches wide. This one's 7 inches wide. Works on wider molds. Same method. You can see my paper corners are exactly the same on this mold. And you guys will be ready to make soap and it's a really easy way. I like to line them right after I finish cleaning them, so that once they're dry, they're ready, they're good to go. I don't have to worry about it next time I want to make soap. I just have to measure out my oils. So once again, this is Beth Boysen. If you like this video, please give me a like or subscribe to my channel. Hit that notification bell for notifications, and leave a comment down below. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!